Hi folks, and welcome to Tech with Troy. Today we're going to feature an unboxing and first look at the EVOO 11.6 inch laptop that's been featured at a fairly low price on the Walmart.com website recently. As a matter of fact, we saw it during the Black Friday time period for about $119, and then just today I saw that it's back on sale again for $109, so even a better deal. If you had a chance to watch that video, one of the reasons that we chose it is that it had some interesting features, and we'll talk about which of those look like they're panning out from the information on the back of the box in just a second. But if you'll remember, we went ahead and bought the purple one, and that's because even though they had purple, blue, a couple of other colors listed, I preferred the blue, to be honest, but there was some confusion about whether it came with 3 gig of RAM or 2 gig of RAM, and to be honest, we weren't even sure how much this one would come with. Now, if we look at the back of the box before we actually open it, and I will zoom this in the video so you can get a little bit better view. It does have, as we saw in the listing, an 11.6 inch 1920 x 1080 screen, which is much better than you normally see on budget laptops. Also, it does come with Windows 10 S version, which is supposed to be less resource intensive, and which for every laptop I've ever seen that offers it, you can upgrade it to a Windows Home version if you want the full version. And more importantly, it does come with the 32 gig of storage and the 3 gigabytes of RAM that we saw in the listing. And like I said then, I've never really seen a laptop that comes with 3 gig of RAM, not in a very long time. And normally I tell people to steer clear of 2 gig laptops for Windows and to look for 4 gig laptops. This might actually be the sweet spot. It'll be interesting to see how it runs with only 3 gig of RAM. Also has a micro SD card, which we saw in the listing. It comes with a mini HDMI port. Now, this is not exactly the same as the HDMI port that you'll see on the back of a TV or most new monitors. However, you can get a fairly inexpensive mini HDMI to regular HDMI cable on Amazon, or I think you could probably even get it at Best Buy. It also comes with a single USB 2.0 and a single USB 3.0 port, both of which will come in handy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like. Now, the box itself is fairly small. It feels solid, that is, you don't feel anything shifting around when you move it. It did come in a larger box, and there was a lot of padding. The larger box, of course, would be from Walmart, shipping department, and this is from the manufacturer, but it seems like they did a pretty good job of putting it all together. When you open it up, there is styrofoam on the top, which is good to protect the finish. And then it looks like the laptop itself is in another protective clear translucent plastic bag. That actually looks pretty nice in terms of, and I know it looks blue on my monitor as I'm looking at it right now, but it's definitely a fairly deep purple. Let's see what else comes in the box. Looks like just the power supply, and a little bit of documentation. I imagine this is information on your quick setup and your Windows 10 license, most likely. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and open it up, because it might make some mention of the fact that you can upgrade to Windows S if you're not happy with it. Now, as we do that, one of the things I wanted to mention is my intention is to do several things with this laptop. First, like I said, I'm going to try to do a quick test drive, if you will, today, and include it with this video, just to give you an idea of what my first impressions are. But then I also want to do several extended videos. One is, I've never actually used Windows S before. I've heard about it, but not used it. So I think it would be interesting to actually test drive it for a while, download or install from the Microsoft Store the Microsoft Office products and see how well it works. And then after that, I'm thinking about switching it over to Windows 10 Home, doing an extended review of it there in terms of how Windows 10 Home would work with only 3 gig of RAM. And then finally, and that'll take a few weeks after that, I'm thinking about turning it over to my son Max, and we'll do a dad-approved, Max-tested video to get his feel for how it works for a kid. So yeah, it looks like it's introduction to the desktop. I'll hold that up. The glare is really bad on this. Introduction to the desktop and operating the start menu. So it's basically an introduction to Windows 10, and then there's a user's guide, and I'll review to see if there's information on the license and so forth. I'm going to pause the video, and then I will start it back up once I've got it hooked up and have gone through the initial startup stuff. Actually, folks, I went ahead and started the video back up because as I started to get it set up, I realized there were a couple of other interesting things. Now, you can't really see, I'm recording with a webcam right now, but you really can't see this without me stretching my arms out their entire length. But this thing actually comes with, looks like a little bit better, or at least a 3-foot long cord on it, which, given it's got the typical wall wart and you're going to run into problems in terms of sharing an outlet with other devices. It is nice, though, that it has such a long cable. Secondly, I realized I didn't actually open it up and look inside, and there's some things we can do before we actually start it up. It looks pretty nice. You'll notice, in addition to seeing a screenshot of me, now you see a screenshot of my TV and so forth. So it's sort of, you can tell it's sort of a glossy screen, but it does have a screen protector on top of it, so I'll go ahead and peel that off. Keyboards are sort of chiclet keyboards, or chiclet keys, that is. It reminds me very much of sort of an Acer laptop. And again, inside we've got a sticker. It does come with Bluetooth, which is good. It's got a Celeron. Oh, by the way, that's one of the things I meant to mention, is that the chip that comes in it, let's look back at the back of the box again real quickly. The chip that comes in it is an Apollo Lake N3350, which is actually fairly good. It's a Celeron. This is the same Celeron that comes in like the HP Stream, at least the 11-inch laptops there. It is not an Atom Lake, which a few people have guessed that it would be, which is good because Atom Lake is an older chip. It's slower. Celeron is still not the fastest chip. You've got Celerons, then Pentiums, then i3s, i5s, i7s, and nowadays even i9s. But it's still a halfway decent chip. You'll find some reviews of other laptops that use that chip, and they'll complain, well, I've got Chrome open with 10 tabs, and then I was streaming a video, and I was editing an Excel spreadsheet, and it was really slow. Well, the answer is don't do that. I think, and we'll find out from our actual hands-on review, but I think that if you're doing one thing at a time, or even two things, as long as you're not going crazy and keeping 10 tabs in Chrome open at the same time that you're editing a video, etc., 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 I think that this will probably be a pretty good machine. By the way, I wanted to sort of show you what the sides of it look like too. So on this side, and I'll hold it up there so you guys can see, there is, looks like AutoZoom does not want to work on our webcam, but there is the micro SD slot, one of the USB slots, and it looks like that's the headphone jack. And then on the other side, we've got the USB 3. You can tell because that one's blue and the other one was not. The mini HDMI, and then this right here is going to be the port for the barrel connector on the power supply. Nothing on the back, nothing on the front. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, one of the other things I might do with this too is actually go ahead and open it up and see if there's any upgrade capabilities inside. I'm not going to do that right now, but it looks like it's got a set of easy to handle screws. It does look like it comes with a little dot of paper. I don't know if you can see that for the glare, but a dot of paper on one of the screws, which I imagine is meant to be an indicator that they can tell whether you've opened it up. And I'll look at the documentation, see if opening it up would violate the warranty or not. But it'll be interesting to see. I doubt that there's any capability of upgrading this thing and adding more RAM, for example, or something like that. But who knows? It doesn't hurt to check, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and, like I said, get it up and boot it up into Windows and give you my first impressions of the machine. Okay, folks, I've gotten to the portion of the computer setup where it's going to basically do some restarts and everything. This is part of the initial setup process. As it does that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know a couple of things that I found that are different and interesting. First of all, one of the things that some people like and some people don't like is the fact that the power button is actually right here on the upper right-hand side of the keyboard. Now, other laptops in this price range, a lot of times you'll find a little detente button, as I call them, either here or in a similar location on the other side. I actually prefer having the power button on the keyboard like this, but some people that are touch typers and so forth will inadvertently press it because it's right above the backspace key. I actually like it though because I find that I inadvertently press the ones on the side. Another thing that's strange, it has like I said, it has a fairly good keyboard, and the travel is good. There's to me just enough clickiness on it, and it has dedicated arrow keys. The other thing I liked, by the way, is that there's been this tendency nowadays for some laptop manufacturers to switch whether the function key activates the old default function features like F1, F2, and F3, or whether pressing it without the function key does the like the volume up and volume down. This one seems if you just press a key, you get the function, and if you you get the F1, F2, F3, F4 equivalent, and you have to press the function key to do audio up and audio down, which is the way I'm used to it. Some of the weird things though. First of all, normally above the enter key you'll find the backslash key. For some reason it's located between the control and alt down on the first layer of keys here. Secondly, the trackpad is nice and wide, and I really like the it's not too glossy. There's enough grittiness to give some tactile feedback to it. But if you look right above it, this is the weirdest thing to me. Look at the size of the space bar. That's not normal. Now, again, if this is your only laptop, your first laptop, and if you're like me, you're not a touch typer, you're a Columbus, right where you find a key and land on it. That's a bad joke. Sorry about that. Then it's not a deal breaker. It's just a different keyboard layout. The other thing I wanted to point out is it's a little bit hard to see with the lights on here, but it does have, it wants me to accept the license, so let me do that. And by the way, the setup process has seemed fairly, I'll call it sprightly. It actually went fairly well. This is the first time I've ever let Cortana, I think. I've answered the questions via audio rather than actually typing in and basically telling her to hush as I do this, and it worked fairly well. What I was going to say though is that there is a couple of indicator lights up here. There's looks like one for power, one for caps lock, one for num lock, and then there are two little holes, one here and one here, that both have microphones underneath them. I will say that Cortana did a great job of recognizing my voice and understanding when I said yes and no, so I do like the so far the microphone on this thing. The other thing that I'll point out, it's not the best placement of speakers, but you have two speakers on the bottom, one on the left and one on the right. They're downward firing. Now you'll notice that the bottom of this laptop curves, so basically they're right where it starts to sort of curve up and get a narrower edge. It's also, they've got these fairly nice sized rubber bumper feet, I guess you would call them, right next to it. So what that's going to mean is that particularly if you're on top of a hard table or something like that, you're going to get good bounce off of the table itself. So this is not the worst placement slash orientation of speakers I've ever seen. Obviously it's better if speakers are on the front, and that is they're on top of the keyboard, and that way you'll get them shooting right at you, if you will, but this isn't necessarily all that bad. So let me finish the sign off, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again, and then I'll check back in with you after I've got the machine up and running. Okay folks, it's still booting up, but I had a couple more comments to make. First of all, it does apparently come with a trial of Office, and Microsoft Office, that is. I think it's a 3-month trial. I'm sorry, I clicked on I already have Office fairly quickly. but after the trial, of course, you would have to start paying for it. The other thing I wanted to point out, this is a conventional laptop. This is not a two-in-one. It doesn't go back into tent mode. It doesn't go into tablet mode. Not only that, but one of the things that's a little bit, I don't know if it's atypical for this price level of laptops, but slightly higher level laptops like to, even if they can't do tent mode, they like to have it so that you can basically lay the screen flat. This one you can't. Basically, you get it so that the back angle here is about 45 degrees off the flat, and that's as far back as it'll go. To me, that's not a deal breaker, but just something I thought I would mention. Again, I want to reiterate, so far, I've been real happy. Of course, it's just doing what it was designed to in terms of getting things set up, but I haven't noticed any appreciable lag. It actually has booted in to Windows right now, so let's take a look at it. And I'm not going to run Office right now, but I'm going to see not much bloatware. It's got this PC, Recycle Bin, and Microsoft Edge, at least not much bloatware on the screen. Microsoft Edge, if you haven't bought a new computer recently, is the latest version of Microsoft's web browser. There is a link, it looks like down here on the bottom, to the Microsoft Store, so we'll take a look at that presently. I open it up. It does looks like it's running fairly quickly. I'm very tempted to open up Excel or something. Maybe I will in just a second. Let me go ahead and open up the File Explorer, because I want to get a feel for sort of how much of the eMMC, the hard drive, or almost SSD, I guess you could call it, that it's got. Right now it's got 18.1 gigabytes free of 27.9. That's not too bad. Of course, now remember, this is Windows S, and I imagine Windows S has less of a footprint than regular Windows does. You know what? As long as we've got it open, and it'll probably ask me to log into my Office account. Let me go ahead and try to run Excel and just get a feel for how quickly it loads, at least. So I clicked on it. You know, it looks like there might actually be like a placeholder icon, and then when you click on it, I'm wondering if it's downloading it or something. Let me go ahead and pause the video again. Let me get Office app from the Microsoft Store downloaded and installed, and then I'll check back in with you guys. Okay, folks, as I suspected, it's somehow when you get Windows S on a machine, it came with a placeholder for the Microsoft Office suite of apps, but I did have to download it from the Microsoft Store. It installed fine, no problems, and I'll show you, you can sort of see the screen here, but I'll show you just as sort of a teaser of when we can actually do a thorough review. But when I click on Excel, I think it loads acceptably fast. Now, one comment I will make, and this is something that I had noticed when I got the box, but that I failed to mention before we unpack this thing. A lot of the newest laptops come with AC wireless. This one does not come with AC wireless. Instead, make sure I'm speaking correctly, it comes with BGN wireless, which is a slightly older version, so this won't be the fastest wireless, but to be honest, it's perfectly fine. Unless you're downloading large files, it will be an issue. So like I said, the plan is to do several follow-on videos. I'd like to use this as sort of a daily driver for the next part of a week and give you my feel for it. I'll try to be fairly equal-handed or even-handed in doing this, because to be honest, I am a college professor and I teach classes in Microsoft Excel, so my needs in terms of Excel and my expectations in terms of Excel, I do realize are probably a little bit higher than other folks. But I'll take, I'll try Excel, I'll try Office. I'm also going to download some of the other apps from the Microsoft Store, because like I said, I haven't actually used Microsoft S. Right now I'm really happy with it. So one of the things I've got to consider, by the way, and one of the things you'll have to consider if you get this laptop, I was talking about having my son Max maybe do a test drive down the road. Well, Max would want to test drive it on games, and not necessarily games from the Microsoft App Store. The problem is that if you upgrade the Windows S version to Windows Home, then you can't go back. And to be honest, I would be a little bit concerned that it might lose some of the quickness, if you will. But right now, just in terms of going through the install, I still like this keyboard. It like I said, it has some weird key placement, but the clickiness and the bounce back on it feels really good to me. Of course, it's now asking me, since I pressed the send key several times, do you want to turn sticky keys on? No, I do not want to turn sticky keys on. One of the other things I want to do too, and I'll do this for the extended review that I'll try to post, I want to see how well this screen works. The background, and I know you guys can't see it too well, I might even try to install the capture software on it so I can, oops, it's going to be terrible there. Like I said, this is a higher resolution than you normally see at even a $200 or $250, maybe even $300 laptop having. So I want to try watching some videos on it and see how it goes. Right now, I would have to say, I know you guys don't want to wait a week or two before making a buy decision, particularly given the price, and I will post a link to the new price that's available on Walmart. Right now, I'd have to say I'm really fairly impressed with this machine. Now, be very careful in terms of applying my review of this machine, though, to some other EVOO laptops that we've seen out there. I know that both Walmart and Amazon have 12-inch and I believe even 14-inch laptops. I don't know, and plus, I think as I said in one of my other reviews, they also have it looks like they do have a 2-in-1 that'll fold into tent mode or whatever, but it only lists with 2 gig of RAM. So I don't know what processors those other machines have. I don't know if they have the Celeron processor. I would hope so. I would hope if they're doing Celeron in what to me should be the cheapest of their laptops, that they would at least keep the Celeron processor in those other laptops. And given that they all have somewhat similar listings in terms of RAM, although I believe that I don't know whether the 12.5 inch and the 14 inch come with 3 gig or 4 gig of RAM. I'll try to look that up for you guys. But I would imagine they at least have to have the same Celeron. Why would they cheap out on an Atom processor, an older processor, when they are putting a Celeron into this machine? So right now, if I was going to make a buy or not buy decision, I would say definitely buy it. I mean, particularly if you're getting it for a kid. I can't tell you whether that blue one has 3 gig. I wish it did, but to be honest, and again, I know this looks blue to you guys, but it isn't. It's as purple as a grape. I like it. I really like this machine. It feels dense but not too heavy, if that makes sense. You know, you can tell that it's a cheaper machine in terms of they don't use colored screws, for instance, which is one way you can add a little bit of gloss or glitz to it, if you will. And it, to be honest, it feels plasticky. It looks plasticky. But for $109, or I think I paid $119 for it, it's not a bad laptop, and I would have to give it a fairly strong recommendation based upon what I've seen so far. I think it's definitely worth getting if you need one for yourself, particularly if it's a second laptop, or if you need one for a kid. Seems like a pretty good deal. Take care. I hope that helps. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate it if you get a chance to subscribe to our channel. And like I said, we will be posting follow-on, more involved reviews of this laptop, and let us know if there's any other machines you'd like for us to take a look at, or at least glance at on the web and give you some feedback on it. Take care, and that's it.